They stripped him of everything before casting him into the Reliquary. No armor, no robes, no dignity. Chains bit into his wrists and ankles as the Templars dragged him into the black-walled chamber. Its air was a tomb's breath, stale, choking with incense so thick it clung to his teeth and lungs. The walls crawled with scripture etched so deep it seemed like the stone bled shadow. At the center was a kneeling circle, worn to a mirror sheen by centuries of aspirants who had knelt there until their skin sloughed away.
You will kneel here, aspirant. You will pray until the Emperor speaks to you. And if he does not, you will die here, and that will be his judgment.
The door sealed, with a sound like a sarcophagus closing. He prayed. At first, his voice was strong. He recited the litany of hate, the catechism of wrath, the creed of fire. But soon, his voice became a rasp. His tongue swelled, his throat blistered from the incense, and still the smoke burned. He whispered the words until his lips cracked and bled, muttering them in his sleep and waking mid-verse, not knowing when one day ended or another began. The chaplain came in sometimes, or maybe he didn't. He would stand in the corner like a shadow, Vox Scrambler buzzing.
Why did you live when better men died screaming? Why did you beg for mercy instead of dying with them?
Vander tried to answer, but only a wet rasp came out. Every time he raised his head, the chaplain was gone, or maybe he'd never been there at all. Time rotted. Days, hours, he could not tell. He tore at the scripture-carved walls until his fingernails split, blood filling the grooves of sacred words. He thought the litanies whispered back, 1,000 murmured prayers burrowing under his skin like worms. He pressed his ear to the stone and swore he heard weeping. And then came the laughter. The bastion burned again. The air was thick with smoke and the copper stink of blood. Shadows slithered across the walls, limbs long and thin, bending wrong, twisting like marionettes dancing on an unseen string. And there, in the center of it all, they stood. But not as he remembered them. Lyra's skin hung in tattered ribbons, her face carved into a mockery of a smile, split ear to ear. Her arms were too long, fingers needle-thin and tipped with black claws. His sisters stood beside her, their heads cocked at impossible angles, hair dripping with blood that wasn't theirs. Their eyeless sockets tracked him anyway, empty and hateful.
You gave us to them. You begged for death. We suffered an eternity.
They stepped towards him, twisting and jerking, each movement snapping a bone in ways it shouldn't. Their voices multiplied, echoed, Lyra's tones joined by dozens of others, the voices of civilians, the cries of the Bastion's dead. He stumbled back, but the walls were gone. The scripture now bled ichor, black and glistening, dripping down onto him, staining his skin, filling his nose with its sweet, rotten stench. They were on him before he could move. Clawed fingers dug into his flesh. They beat him, tore him down, nails raking through his skin, laughing a shrill, giddy laughter like the tormentors who had once broken him so long ago. Their shadows then shifted, bodies warping into a familiar, lithe, monstrous silhouettes. Their porcelain masks grinning as they danced on broken limbs, spinning and jerking in a cruel performance, slapping chunks of their own flayed flesh against his chest as though mocking his weakness. The sound of their laughter burrowed into his ears, and he screamed till his voice was nothing. Then came the canyon. He was there, choking on familiar ash and xenos ichor. Those he had rallied stood in their torn flag, their bodies punctured and hollowed by claws, their entrails swaying like pendulums.
Why did we die for your revenge?
One asked, its jaw dangling by a string of sinew.
Was it penance or selfishness?
Another croaked, its tongue split and writhing like a worm.
You rallied us to die for you.
They said together, their mouths splitting impossibly wide, spilling writhing black sludge onto the canyon floor. He squeezed his eyes in disgust and shame. The voices faded. When he opened his eyes again, the canyon was gone, and he was no longer alone.
Pathetic.
In the corner, crouched low like something feral, he saw himself.
Begging, groveling. You gave them everything you loved, because you were too weak to endure.
It grinned with jagged teeth, its mouth stretching too far, splitting its face down to the neck.
Do you know what they did to her?
Its tongue lolled out, slapping wetly against its chin, its bulging eyes wide with manic joy.
Do you know how long she screamed before she learned to sing for them?
He clamped his hands over his ears.
They made her dance in the dark. Do you know what that means?
It crawled closer, spine cracking audibly with every jerky lurch. He curled into a ball.
You only wanted to feel righteous, to play at being the warrior.
It circled him, giggling, mocking, leaning close enough that its breath was rancid on his cheek.
You are theirs now. You're their dog, and you have always been their dog.
It laughed, a wet, hacking cackle.
All that atonement, all that blood you spilled, did you think it would wash you clean? No. You are filth. You will always be filth. And you are me, and I am you. We are one, and you can never be rid of me. We are the same.
And that was when he finally broke. But not in surrender, in decision. You're wrong. He stopped trembling. He lowered his hands. He stood. It looked up at him, halting in its approach. Vander is dead. Vander is no more. From this moment on, he is nothing.
Then who are you, little dog?
I am the Emperor's will. His will made flesh. And then he lunged, his hands wrapped around its throat. It thrashed, clawed, bit, screaming, laughing, and choking all at once, even as he drove it to the floor. To burn filth like you from the stars. To crush them beneath my heel. In the name of the God Emperor, in the name of Vander, in the name of everyone that boy cared for, I am you. Vander is dead. Only the Emperor's will remains. You can't kill me. He squeezed, bone cracked, flesh torn, the thing's bulging eyes rolled back, its lolling tank spasmed as its screams turned to gurgles, and still he squeezed until the life bled out of it, and his twisted grin went slack. It was over. He knelt over its corpse. Vander Kale was dead. He fell backward. His body was weak, emaciated, little more than bone and scar, but his spirit had never been stronger. Time passed. He lay on his back, staring up at the ceiling, and above him the shadows moved. Familiar lithe shades drifted over the stone, long-limbed, wrong-angled, crawling across the ceiling and down the walls. Once they would have made his stomach knot and his throat close. Once Vander would have searched their movements for meaning and found only his own guilt, shame, and fear. But Vander was gone. What remained, what lay beneath those shadows, watched only with a steady, merciless focus. Rage cooled into something usable. No fear, no shame, no wild grief clawing at his throat. Only cold certainty and the simple, uncompromising drive to destroy them, and all abominations like them, wherever they hid. In response to his gaze, the shadows above him began to falter. They had always moved with intention, circling, prowling, waiting for the old reactions, the tightening throat, the heat in the eyes, the sickness of memory. They had lived on it, fed on it, as predators of flesh on a mind that could be wounded. But the man they once hunted was gone. They drifted across the ceiling and found nothing to take. They reached down the walls and met no fear, no shame, no pleading softness to tear open. Their edges thinned, their limbs became smoke. Still, they tried once more. A final convulsion, a last stupid hope that pain could still steer him. The haze gathered and reshaped above him, and for an instant they held faces again, his sisters as they were, not murderous, not mangled, hair falling in the right way, eyes whole, skin unbroken, their mouths parted as if to speak Vander's name the way they used to. He looked at them and felt a moment of pity for that man, distant and cold, as one might pity a stranger found frozen in the snow. And finally, after that, the image fully broke apart, drifting, never to return. The door opened, light so violent it felt like a weapon spilling across the floor. The chaplain stood in the doorway, a black tower, skull helm unblinking. The reborn man tried to rise, but his body failed him, so he crawled, his once hollow eyes burning with a steady, righteous clarity. He reached the threshold and rose to one knee, head bowed.
Who are you?
I'm nothing. Vander is dead. Only the Emperor's will remains.
Then rise, Castus. You are the Emperor's to command.
Castus swallowed. The name landed like a brand pressed into flesh, searing, permanent. He forced his shaking arms beneath him, He rose inch by inch, as if hauling himself up from the bottom of a pit. When he finally stood, he did not look back at the empty chamber. He stepped into the light.